Start streaming. Welcome back to the stream, guys. I'm starting up really late, but you know, it is what it is. Before I get into this, the disclaimer. Any and all information discussed here is for entertainment purposes only and should not be considered tax advice, legal or investment advice. A referral to a commodity is not an indication to buy or sell that commodity. Day trading is risky and most traders lose money. Past results and current results are not in any indication for future results. That being said, I'm gonna try to trade the ES instead of the NASDAQ, specifically the micro. I think that's gonna be my best bet. So I'm setting up this now. I didn't realize that I have so many like resistance lines everywhere. Yeah, we're on a pretty solid downtrend on the 1 hour, and our overnight high is a fib point. Nice. So that's a major place to check, to look out for. Where else? And then yesterday's and then Friday's high is also another fib point. Oh, right, I can't. Okay. So there's that. I know when I stopped the stream last week, it said that I was dropping some frames, so hopefully this is a little smoother. Okay. That's a fib point, and then realistically, this is a fibber. Why does my box look so different? Is this my orange box? Isn't it a little darker? It can't be darker, right? I just used the template. Whatever. We'll figure that out later. Up a tick. Okay. That's a fib point with a resistance line behind it, so keep an eye out for that as a continuation to the downside. Chances are off the open we're gonna go long to here. That's kind of what I'm looking for. We bounced here in the middle of this resistance area, but there has to be something else over here that I'm not seeing. Let's jump up to the daily. There. Yeah. Okay, so that answers that question. In April, I was like, why this yellow line right here? It got through a bunch of this chop before it dropped down significantly. Now, this is last night on the overnight was the first time we touched this since April. Right here, through all that. and it was a really strong one here and there. So that being that, it's possible that we break through this and come down, but it's also possible that we find that level of support off of what was support and resistance here, and we go up towards the top of this. There's a lot of chop that we're gonna have to go through, a lot of resistance before that, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense. If we come near this box, then there's gonna be other issues that we're gonna have to figure out, but there's that. Let's do last week's low. Low of last week. We'll bring this up, and we're gonna make it a yellow. Yeah, there's something off with the colors on my screen. Like this yellow, I feel usually is a little darker. Anyway. Last week's low was Friday. Was Thursday. Yeah. Anyway, so that's one of those things where it tried to come back down and then pulled out of that. Plus, there's a lot of resistance back there, and this as well. So that's why I see we finding the support and then pushing up. I might even like take not as soon as we open, but like maybe a couple minutes in, like 5 minutes in to the open. Okay, so the NQ. Show me what's up. We're also in a down trend. This one looks like it bottomed out and is starting to form an uptrend. Lower lows, higher lows, but also lower highs. So there's a pattern here. There's like a triangle pattern here, or a pendulum, or whatever it is. Because of these massive turns, and last week we were all kind of just like getting shorted, I think this time around this might go up. Question is, where is it gonna stop? This was hit already with that. And that was hit already with that. The NASDAQ looks a little choppy. I think we're going to come down to this support line again and then find it. This feels like a what's it called? It feels like a bull trap. We're opening I'm going to be opening right in the middle between the highs and lows, right where we closed off Friday. So there's that. Yeah. I think the setup looks a little cleaner on the ES anyway, so that's where I'm gonna be on. Do that. Let me get my fib, my EMAs, and this can go here. $81. Got a minute left. Oh, I gotta hide my screen for a quick sec. All right. Stream looks good. It doesn't look like I missed. Sorry. Stream looks good. Doesn't look like I'm dropping any frames. Okay. MES. Nope. Alright, 81.50 is a line of array. Okay, supply. That's the low of last week or Friday. So that's where I'm concerned about. This is ES. That's, well, same thing. Obviously, the ooh, shit, he has gapped up quite a bit. Alright. I'm gonna make this a lot smaller because I want to see what the price is doing. And then we give it a couple of seconds and we figure out what we're doing from there. Now I'm I really thought that YouTube didn't start streaming my thing until now. But we're good.
Order submitted. Order filled.
Okay. Whoa, wait.
Order filled.
It really... That was almost an issue. Oh, that almost was an issue. It said I shorted it for a quick second, but that wasn't the case. Okay, stop market. Was that 2 points below? And we're going 16 points. So that is 4,386.25. Sell.
Order submitted.
And then limit 7 at 4,392.25.
Order submitted.
And then $32. 8 points. $4,396.
Order filled.
Order filled.
Nice. We'll do the other. We'll do 4.
Order submitted.
Currently we have 7. And we're moving to break even. Plus a tick. I don't know if that's I don't feel confident in that. I hesitated a little too much on the rest of that, didn't I? Yeah, that feels like I hesitated a little too much on it. That was it was a good shot out. I feel like I definitely should have entered a lot sooner. Like as at the open of this. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna give it some time. This is a risk-free trade. I've already that was almost a mistake, but I've already clocked in 132. I kind of don't want to give all of that back, but we'll We'll see. We'll give it another shot to try to push up. I think that was just a breather before it pulled back. We're 3 points away. That's a pretty nice candle. And I'm glad I didn't cut it. The NQ is also like shooting. I would like it to catch that. I might have to cut it though. I'm gonna give it a little more time just to see what happens. I think this is one of those things where I just have to be patient with it. I'm getting really anxious that I don't know what's happening with it. I don't usually trade the ES or the S&P, so I don't know if this is within its nature that it's slowly grinding it, but we've been here for a minute. I'm gonna move this up to that. We're one point away from clocking in a little bit more. Like I said, I believe the price is going to go up to here. So that's kind of where my hesitations are. And there is a lot of resistance over here because of that. I completely messed up my chart. So like, I want to give it a little bit time to do its thing. I don't like the fact that I didn't get filled right there. Getting a tick away that doesn't make me happy at all. That actually does quite the opposite. But Delta looks pretty okay, so I feel like I'm worried over nothing really. Come on. feel like I'm risking way too much where I could just close it now. But it... I feel like I'm getting greedy for that one tick.
Order filled.
Order filled.
Okay. There's that. Now this gets dropped down to 3 contracts. And gets moved. Where do I move it to? Honestly, I'm good to close. Let's see if I could get 10 points.
Order submitted.
Obviously, that's a little high. Let's move that there. And close.
Order
Order
filled.
filled.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with missing that. Oh, it would have hit. No, it wouldn't have. My stop was right here. I would have hit now. But that's I'm happy with that. That was a really solid, really solid trade. I wasn't stressed out at all. This little fluke right here kind of did stress me out significantly because that should not have happened. but I got it ticked down and I reversed it and I was just like, oh shit, no, because this was a really solid long. I was $150 off of that. And I made $471 before commission, $442 after. So $471, there's $30 in commissions, which that's a lot. I did trade 14 contracts, but I feel like that's a lot of money in commissions. I don't know if well, okay, it would have been $15 in commissions, but I had to reverse this. Right, that's kind of what just happened. So I got out with this off of $2 thing. That is that's solid. I mean, I feel like I could have left a runner going to the top of this and I would have been okay with that, but to have it open to just rip right off like that is really good. Yeah, I risked 2 points to make 8, and I took 50% of my position off at half. So 7 contracts was pulled out at 2 points, which was $140 at 4 points. Another 4 were pulled out at a 4-1, which was $160. and then another 3 were pulled out a little bit after that at 150. Max drawdown was $10. So a quarter of a point was my max drawdown. There's no trade that gets cleaner than that. I looked off of this. Like, so I sold the bid instead of buy the bid. I thought I hit buy the bid. And that's why I was in a short position. I was like, wait, what the fuck? So I reversed it out of here. Realistically, the best possible entry would have been when you crack this high here at 87.50. I got in at 88.50, so 1 point higher than the absolute best entry. Oh, half a point. 75% point? Quarter? 3/4? 3/4, because it was 87.50 was the best possible entry. I got in at 88.25. Well, technically, I hit buy the bid, so I would have gotten in at 88.50. But as soon as I entered it, it pulled back, and I had reversed it. Thankfully, because it went back only half a point. It went down to 88 and then popped off from there. I exited the rest of it when I found resistance at the entry of this box. Obviously I could have went all the way up when my entry was at for another 2 points, because my exit would have been at 399.25 and it topped off at 401 flat. This is very possible a pullback before a continuation. I don't know if I want to continue, because that was a really solid trade. It doesn't really currently, because of how far my drawdown is and when my renewal of my evaluation starts. If I blow these accounts, it wouldn't cost me anything extra for the reval, because the evaluation restarts on the 1st. So, and I'm not trading Wednesday, which is the 28th. So I really only have 4 days to bring this back up to what's it called? I only have 4 days to bring this back up to $1,000. Now, obviously, I made a significant amount of that right now, and like I said, this would have been a really nice 5-point scalp. It comes down and the beginning of a fail. So where this closed off, if I had entered it here, pulled it up for like 3 points, that would have been a really nice scalp. But you know, out of curiosity, excuse me, out of curiosity, the NQ, what does that look like? I mean, it looks fine. This is the open. Real questionable. and then it started popping off, you would have entered here to top of this at 49 and held it for the 50 points. Yeah, because that's at 49.25 is where you got in here. It would have been when this big bar cleared this, and then you would have entered it, and then there's a second re-entry and a third re-entry and technically a fourth re-entry. if you're really confident in this uptrend, which I mean I don't see why you wouldn't be, because this is like the angle of which this is going up is kind of ridiculous. Now it's a 65-degree angle. It's decreasing, but this is a pretty strong bull trend. The ES looks like it's flattening out though, and if this is flattening out, then the NASDAQ is going to start flattening out pretty soon. The market mover really is the NASDAQ in this, because top 100 tech stocks is in the top 500 companies of the S&P, and the tech sector has been a real mover. So this angle, where is it? Here. Yeah, see this angle isn't, it's steep, but it's not as steep as what the NASDAQ is right now, because this was like a 68-degree angle, right? 60 something, 66 currently, and this is at a 58. So it's definitely more bullish in the NASDAQ than it is in the S&P. But I'll be honest with you, I felt so much better trading the S&P than I did in the NASDAQ. Like, and that might be just because to move the direction of the S&P, it takes quite a bit. It could be the music. The music did really help, but jokes aside, like, to move the S&P, it takes quite a bit. So it's not gonna fully tank out of nowhere. You'll see the direction change a little bit sooner, but the drawdown of it is that technically it's more lucrative to trade the NASDAQ if you're good at that, because of the amount of points that it jumps and how much the point value costs. You could technically make more money, right? Now, as like an example, I entered at 933, so somewhere at this bar here. We'll say right here, when this cracks over there, right here. And then I exited at 45. We'll say the close here. That's 50 points. At the halfway mark, which is 25 points, we're taking out the 7 contracts, right? Assuming it's the same amount of points. So that's $98. No, wait, I lied. 7 contracts, which is $2 per contract per point times 25 So that's $350 at 25 points, right? With how many I got? Here was 140. Right, so right off the bat, it's more than double for half the move. Granted, this says the ATR was 1750, so if you're adjusting your position sizing off of the ATR, then it really wouldn't change anything except make things harder, because if I risked the maximum of $150 on that trade on the S&P. If I risked the maximum of 150 here, right off the open, click, this is the open, we're at 11 points. So I'm trading like, what is that, 7 contracts? 11.4 points. 6 contracts if you're rounding down, 7 if you're rounding up. Because it was like 6.5 contracts. So at that point, it's like, it's more difficult with less contracts. You know, it comes down to like, which poison do you want? You gotta pick your poison. A little part of me feels like I should have held on just a little bit, like put it in the middle of this zone at a psych level of 4,400, and I had left it instead of exiting at 98.5. But what is that? 98. Minus 9. $1.5 times the 3 contracts, which is $15 a point. I would have made an extra $22. So yeah, that would have been nice, on the sense that like this kept increasing. Another 22 to this would have been 175, 176.25 because of the actual point value change. But I'm glad. I'm happy with how it went. My first trade on the S&P, right off of the open, not like directly off the open, but like right off the open. That was a really solid trade. I'm happy I bought during the bull trend. I mean, this is as easy of a trade as it could get, and I got out right before the chop. See, while this is like chopping around and stuff, the NASDAQ is still pushing up. So this gives me an indication. This feels like direction's gonna change. And this feels like it was an exhaustion candle with no follow through. I see the contracts here that's pushing, but like, is that a real thing when there's no real follow through afterwards? Here, this is decreasing, which means momentum really is dying off. Same thing here. Price is flatlining or slightly increasing as momentum is dropping. Let's jump up to a higher time frame. Obviously there's a resistance there. I mean, if it cracks through this, the next point really would be up here. But there's so much noise here that it has to get through before it could do that. So even if it cracks above this, it still has to go through all of this. Now, if we were closer up here and you said, oh, once it cracks here, this is the next point, that would be more reasonable. I'll be honest with you. There's still a lot of noise here, but if it cracks above this, it's really thin up here. But, you know, that's a hell of a lot away. And that was a massive push down. Is it gonna retest? Now see, this is one of those things. Do I trade the reversals on the S&P? I don't entirely know. Sorry guys, that must have blown out your eardrums. I apologize. But I feel cool, calm, and collected through that. My trade finished off over here. I'm really waiting. I could call it a day there and that'll be that. I did want to risk a little bit more on this trade. Specifically on this trade, because I felt like I kind of wanted to do 200, but because of how close I was to the end of my drawdown, I didn't want to risk that extra $50. And honestly, I think if I had risked that extra $50, I would have been at 20 contracts. Or like 19, because there was like 2.2 points that I was risking, which ultimately I went down. Yeah, if it would have been 18 to 19 contracts. Okay, so this was a nice little pullback up. If you're a range trader, you could do something with that, but that is not me, even in the slightest bit. So, out of curiosity, what would the ADX look like on this? ADX would have given you a late entry. Oh wait, no, that's. I mean, it still would have given you a late entry. It would have given you a decent entry. I mean, you still would have been late to this, but if you bought right at like the crossover using the ADX, that'd potentially be okay, but at this point that's too many things on my screen and I don't like that. I like the way that my chart is set up. I really felt good. That one and done. I mean, it was a really solid setup. Like, there was not, like I said, the only, if you were an aggressive trader, you would have bought pre-market at the close or right at the open here or here, and then your stop would have been below this. So you would have risked about 3 or 4 points, maybe more, depending on that. But then you're attacking this line here. So how many? What would that even be? Going for a 15-point move, risking 2 points. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Yeah, 2.5, 3 points if you want to really be safe. Which, I mean, that's a 5-1. Not bad. See, if this fails to eat this candle, I might enter another short. And then it would be attacking this bottom over here. Otherwise, this was just a slight pullback. Honestly, that might. I might not take it, but if this cuts below 3439 right there. If that does that, then I'm going to readjust my stop according to ATR. I don't think I'm taking another trade. Now, if this eats this and closes somewhere up here, then that was just a nice pullback. But I also still wouldn't enter that unless it cracks above this. So we really will see how this candle looks. There was a lot of orders to come through at this, and it just got eaten up with 75% of it. This was an exhaustion candle where people taking profits trying to push price down. So right now comes down to the question, was it just an exhaustion candle, or were the bears beginning to absorb sell orders, buy orders? Because like right now this looks like the bears are trapped. All of the bears that are sold below this are trapped. So now if they cover, then price continues up. Now, obviously, the ES is a different asset than the MES, so it looks differently, especially with how many orders are going through it. To me, this looks like the bulls wanted to take a little break. The bears pushed price down. And then the bulls started re-entering at a nice price down here. And then absorbed all of this again. And then at this point, if I was looking at the ES chart, this is your point of entry at 4397. And you're riding this up. Your first trim would be at psych level 400. And then or completely, and then watch what it does over here. You might scale down and pull out 75% at this psych level and wait to see what happens with the remaining 25 above this, and then re-enter again. Sure, that is very much a possibility. So obviously it's not a short. Right now, what we're looking at is what happens when we get above this level. So, the time-wise, they're linked, but the way that ticks go, they're off of orders. And obviously, there's a lot more volume and movement in the other one, in this one, than in this. So even I mean, it's still, this is a pretty strong bar, so you would enter right here and you would ride that up. There'd be more times to re-enter than there was here. Yeah, sure, definitely. And then this was a pullback for another re-entry or second leg. You could count this as another leg, but this is consolidating. So this is really the pullback. This is a consolidation, the pullback, and then the push off. It just looks like price trend is kind of weakening. I also might completely and utterly be talking out of my ass, but I've been absorbing a lot of Al Brooks' teaching and learning what he has to say, and I definitely have to go through his whole book. He has a lot of content on YouTube that I've been paying attention to. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking at this. The NQ also all but paused. Or sorry, the MNQ all but paused. And see, this is where I would be getting chopped up. I'd be like, alright, it hits this, double bottom, short. I'd be in the money a little bit and then probably get stopped out at break even. And now it's pulling back. I'm like, oh no, get in for a short to come down, and this is just chop. This is chop, but because it's moving a little bit slower, I have more time to really gather my thoughts. It's the best way I can describe that. We could get rid of this. A reversal is starting to form. The bulls are getting weak. We're at a fib point. The safest thing was when this failed to make a new high twice, and this started to break this candle to take a short somewhere here. Obviously the safest point is to take a short here at the top of this. But if I enter like 25% here, and then as this broke down here, added to it, then yeah, that'd be a little bit better. But as of right now, I'm watching it. It's right in the zone. It comes up, tapped it twice. And we see if it comes back up here and fails to make a third high, I'm shorting the shit out of that. Delta's significantly decreased. Delta's been decreasing like crazy, which also has me thinking like there's a major price divergence, right? Like price has increased from low of here to low of here. Price has increased, delta has decreased. I mean, that's another sign of a reversal. My indicators are suggesting reversals, so is price, to be honest. It's just really timing this reversal. I don't want to enter a short position here and then have it wick me out like it did here, right? Like it would have done here if I had taken that. But I see these little scalps. Like I could scalp in for 3 or 4 points. Like I see that, or 2 point. Like this, if this pulls back a little bit more, I could enter for a scalp for 1 to 2 points and work that. But like I got 10 points out of this trade. I'm kind of happy with that. And this still could be an uptrend day. We're kind of due for it after all of last week. This all happened last week, and we chopped for a majority of the overnight, and then we ate all of this from the overnight, and we're getting to this resistance now. We're finding support at this resistance here. And price right now is also at another resistance point. Support here and a resistance here. So it's one of those things where like you could scalp 3 points between where this resistance are from all this price action to this red line, which is the bottom of what these candles are right now, like here and here. So like that's the bottom of this and this. I'm just not an aggressive trader like that. I'd rather wait for another setup of an 8 to 10 point move and then take that. Scalping is fun, but to me it feels like a gamble. If that's your thing, by all means, you do you. And I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, be like, yeah, I'll be a scalper one day, or no, I'd never do that, because I do like to scalp from time to time. But you see the way my bank account is set up, like I can't afford to scalp, right? So I'd rather wait for a solid move, push it, have the mental capital to be like, yeah, no, this is more than just a scalp, and then go off of that. Now, Al Brooks recommends a trader, especially a beginning trader, to quote unquote swing a trade, which this would be considered a swing trade to him. Or in my opinion, this is just a day trade, because I'm holding it for multiple minutes, for a little longer than what a scalp would be. This was a 9 and 10 minute trade. That first one was less than 2 minutes. You know, like this is, so it's one of those things where it's like, I don't particularly hate that. Like this is a solid for me. What I wanted, that was a pretty interesting candle. Push, it pulled up, stopped, pushed, pulled up, stopped here, failed to do anything up or down, and now this push down. The NQ is also doing something similar. They're obviously in tandem with one another, but there's a divergence right here. Is there? Price is slightly higher, but this is like significantly higher. I mean, I'm not trying to take a short right now. It's too spotty. This could easily yeet up, and I'm gonna sit here being looking like a fool, because this was just an elongated pullback. But with how this moves, a scalper could have saw this fail, enter a short, pop down a couple points and out, and then come back here, saw this fail, pop in for a couple points and out, and then see this pop in a short, turn equally as low here, out, and then got back or reversed up to here. Maybe, you know, but at this point it's like, how far do you push it? You know, like I'm not a scalper enough to, or I'm not good enough of a scalper to be like, all right, you keep pushing this. There's a guy on YouTube who does scalps, and I'll tell you what, it's one of the most entertaining things to watch, but I feel like if it was me personally, it'd be the most nerve-wracking thing to do. He knows what he's doing, and he has years of experience behind him of doing what he's doing, and it looks really cool, but I would genuinely be shitting my pants. So I'm staying away from that, at least until, you know, I get to his net worth. You know, so some of these guys that like look really aggressive. Now, granted, they could have gotten to that magic number doing what they're doing, or they were swing trading, were able to accumulate a lot of money, and then spend some time learning how to scalp, realize that it was a little bit more lucrative or more fun, and then continue off of that. I don't know what his true journey was, but I don't know how frequently he's able, like I don't know what his losing days look like. All I've seen was the half-hour live scalp of him showing his trading model and him in and out, and it was quite amazing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wonder what his name is. I'm really bad with names, and I wish I was better, because it would have been. Let me see. Day Trading for Success. Yeah, that's his name. He has a couple different methods and small challenges and stuff that he does, and I don't know how credible he really is. I don't know how much. This really looks like a setup for a like a short, but as I say that, it just full on melted 3 points. I go, this looks pretty solid. It cracks and then tanked. Yeah, it's very entertaining to watch, but nerve-wracking. Oh, I just saw my setup on. Well, I mean, this would be my setup right here as well. Does this fail to push up again? This would be where I would have entered a short, and that would have been 7 points. But that was a crazy candle. And this looks like it's got some more give to it. I told you I saw a reversal happening with the indicators and price chopping up over here, and the fact that this was happening, this channel, it felt like a short, and I was so good with this that I didn't take this. But I could have. I should have. Even my box. Like if I took a short off of here, that's 10 points. Take a 14 micro contract short from here, have a scalp off of here. That would have been really funny, and then see this melt back down, double my money today. I mean, hey, you know, like that could have happened, but I know I'm going quiet, but like, I'm just really absorbing what this is doing. I think today was also the first I've ever used the reverse trade, the reverse button. I'm glad I did. I would have panicked otherwise, I'll be honest with you. If that reverse button wasn't there, that would have been a disaster. I think that's also why I'm like really chill about it right now and don't want to enter, because that first trade with it being entering as a short and then reversing into a long, that was almost an issue. That was almost a really bad thing. If the volatility was much higher, I would have lost a significant amount of money. But like I said, like I wanted at the crack of this to enter and then try to take down that bottom, or really down here, but there's these zones. I'm glad about my zones. I'm glad at how this worked. Oh damn, this continued to melt. And see, this is one of those moments where I kind of feel so dumb not taking the trades. Like this here could have been nice. This here could have been nice. Like sometimes I get into seeing the price action looking like this, and because I took this, I don't want to risk giving all this back. But on a trade like this, with how solid it was, if I did risk it, I would have doubled what I made today. Right? Like if I took a trade, a short here to there, that's 13 points, 18 points. It's still got space to go, you know. And that's if I took it right in the middle. I would have obviously had to, I wouldn't have taken it right here, but this pops up, comes down, this pops up, fails to make a new high here at 25 or 50% of my position. This cracks down that hard, add the rest. This comes down, pulls back, add more, and then watch this melt. I'm not used to trading the ES, so like this, some of this is a little bit of nerve-wracking to do that. I think the more comfortable I get with trading the ES, the better I'll be. I think instead of watching it and be like, oh, I should have entered here, I should do this, I should do that, I think I'm gonna call it there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call it there. I think this is good enough for a trade. I am somewhat tight on time, but you know, it's only 10:40. This was a solid win that I needed, especially my first day back. Watching how much calmer price is moving here than it is on the NQ. Like if I swap over to the NQ right now, I mean, prices, the volume is still pretty high, and an ATR of 23. That's a little crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. But even here, the tops were damn near chosen. Today was just an easy trading day, I guess, but I didn't capitalize on these. Again, because the excessive euphoria from all this happened. I didn't want to risk it back. And that's just a confidence thing, that the more I trade the ES, the more I trade period, but the more I trade the ES, the more comfortable I will be with making these types of decisions. Because this was a leg up, and I could have gotten more money on the leg down. I'm not going to beat myself up for it. It was a really solid trade, both ways. It, up and then the down. Like that gets the price action here too. Like that's as clean as I can get. This damn near did a double top. I mean, it did on this side. Right, like it went up by half a tick, half a point, and then like failed, and then tried to push up again and failed. So like the price action is as clean as it could be. But I'm personally, I think I'm done. I now know how much slower this would be here than it is on the NQ. Like this took, from entering this point to exiting, it was a half hour. That don't look like a half hour. Entering, exiting, 20 minutes. So it moves significantly slower. 34 minutes versus 20. That's 15 minutes. This moves 15 minutes slower than it would have been on the NQ. I think that's what I need, honestly. Mentally, trading wise, I think that's what I need. And this is another trend reversal. The NQ shows one bar. This tried twice. Here. So see. Okay. I should call it there. But FOMO's popping up. I feel like I should wait and see if this holds or pulls up, consolidates, pushes up again. It's got some, excuse me, it's got some movement to go. I'm not entering, but I'm just curious. That right there. I'm gonna go to, I would say that. I think it's due for a pullback according to this candle, or the price movement here. I could be wrong, but it looks like it wants to pull back just ever so slightly. Let me see what it looks like on the ES. The ES looks significantly faster. 5,000 versus which is 4,000. So there's more movement tick chart wise because there's more orders. I think that's a solid trade, but I'm calling it there. So I'll come back to this later and see if it actually hits. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back on tomorrow morning, roughly the same time. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I'm able to replicate this tomorrow for myself, but it is what it is if I can't. I'll see y'all tomorrow.